Yes, Sudhir.
Yeah, hi. Hello.
You're not audible.
Not audible?
No.
Oh, let me join once again then. Hello. Hello. Is it clear now? Am I audible? Dr. Aditya?
I
Hello.
can't hear you. I think you can remove your earpiece once.
Hello. Now?
No. It's good we come early, to test this out. Just check with your mic and see if you have connected to your selecting the microphone same as what you have inputted.
Every day we are using this. Hello.
Nope, can't hear you. Yeah. Just a second, I will yeah, you can unmute now.
Hello.
Yeah, it's feeble, but it's there.
Is it? I mean, now audible, is it?
Yeah, it's audible, but it's very feeble now.
Oh, this is surprising.
Yeah, now it's better. Now it's better. I think the mic is the issue, I guess.
Now it is okay, right?
Yeah.
Chalo, at least that is fine, Good, I think, I mean, this Zoom we are regularly using. But yesterday also I faced the same problem. One of the client was not able to hear.
Okay.
And then suddenly again we joined and we started, I think, anyway. Okay, good, doctor. Fine.
So we have 5 more minutes and then we'll start.
Yeah, no problem.
This on LinkedIn also. So you can go there also, find if anybody wants to. We'll tag you once the event is done. I will tag you to the link and you can probably share it among yourselves.
Yeah, sure.
So you're aware of the questions, right? So basically the questions are pretty good. They range from clinical regulatory pathways to ethical committees and also how do you generate? So there are a lot of things. Interestingly, we had few more last minute entry. So as of now, the total count for how many people are interested is 42. So this is a good
Oh,
number is what I think.
good number. So Dr. Aditya, I this time, since it's a first session and, even I also want to understand, the how it goes, but whatever the theme which you have given, like proposal, writing and protocol. So
Hmm.
my preparation is in and around that only.
Yeah. I mean,
So I
you're also
will.
not aware how exactly this goes. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah. So basically, we have a lot of material to discuss with them, but obviously, not possible in 1 hour. We will have continue to have, such kind of a session
yes.
based on their interest. Also, let's say after this session, if the people will say, specifically they want to know something about that, maybe we will come up with next time specific to that. So this time it is just idea about, like, the how the document should be
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay, may not be the answering all their question,
Yeah.
but I am considering this as just the start of the
Yeah.
our
And also of the 42 which they have shown interest, 27 of them wants to work closely with this alignment. So basically they need more support in understanding where exactly the clinical pathways are and how exactly things goes. So that is probably a future event where we can think of a closed room kind of a place where we discuss about their ideas and probably help them to nurture their ideas. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Fine. So fine, we'll start. It's just 1 minute. Anyway, it's just live streaming, so we can think of taking questions from there as well. Yeah, and start the session.
So it is showing 3 participants, so maybe
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is
I have to admit. So once we
okay,
start,
okay. Yeah.
sooner or later they will coming. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So yeah, in 3, 2, 1. So ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I welcome you all for the first workshop on organizing from Derby Health Hub on regulatory pathways and regulation. Please note that this is one of the part of the many such workshops which we'll be jointly organizing in the periods to and months to come. We aim to provide insightful commentary, workshops, webinars, and podcasts on various health and well-being issues. And we aim to create an engaging and informative experience beyond the traditional talk show format, which basically many of us have been doing. So throughout the Health Hub platform of the Derby Foundation, we hope to close the knowledge gap in medicine and research to foster innovations. This workshop is more about helping startups figure out clinical and regulatory pathways, supporting them and identifying the right way to write a proposal. And for that, today we have Sudhir Patel, founder and director of Queenery Clinical Research Private Limited. So Sudhir started his career as a CRA, progressed to project head and became an entrepreneur. He holds a good 18 plus years of experience in core clinical research and currently an enterprising leader, and his company QCR has work closely with the ethical committees and health tech startups to assist them in clinical research. He holds a post of secretary at Human Ethics Association or Committee Association, HECA, and initiatives to set up common platform for all ethical committees in India to learn, interact, and communicate. He is also an active member of South Chapter of the Indian Society of Clinical Research, ISCR. And thank you, Mr. Patel, for graciously accepting our invitation to conduct this workshop and making this research path flow much easier and more effortless for our startups. Please enlighten us on how startups can write effective research or regulatory proposals or protocols And as Mr. Patel takes over, to all the audience who have joined in from Zoom or through our social media platforms, please drop in your comments on the chat boxes and try to keep your mics muted so that the conversation which is coming will not be much of an interruption. So wherever you find time, please drop in your chats or please drop in your questions in the chat box. And I hand over the session to Mr. Patel. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Aditya. So thanks to everyone who has joined this session, and this is a pleasure for me to connect with all of you, and especially the startups and the researchers, those who are really the bringing a lot of innovations on the for the country and for the people. So basically, as Dr. Aditya has mentioned briefly about the Quinary Clinical Research. So we at Quinary Clinical Research, we are closely working with these startups, and we carry detailed experience to know their requirements and train them and on various aspects of the clinical research. So today, as Doctor has mentioned, that I'm going to, since this is a first session with all of you, I'm going to very specifically talk about some of the basics related to the research proposal expectation. And in the research proposal expectation, like how the document should be, what are the essential elements should be covered in the documents. See, basically, you all are experts in your domain. You are bringing, we know that, and we are also really, the excited when we are working with startups and the researchers like you, because the innovations which you are bringing, that is something which is very unique. So you are experts in your domain. But what we have seen that sometime, like you need how to take that particular research and product to the next level, to the market. So maybe we are helping the startups to make them to remain the compliance along with the rules and regulations, and also helping them in driving for the clinical trials, clinical studies according to the rules and regulation. So today's session is mainly focused on that, and it is just a start, like how you can write your proposals, or maybe how you can take it up your research proposal to the next level, either to the regulatory or to the ethics committee. So with this, I would like to, we have effectively 1 hour, and in this 1 hour, we are going to discuss about that. As Dr. Aditya has mentioned, you can post your questions. Maybe I will definitely try to answer all your questions, and if we can make it interactive, it will be really good. So with this, I would like to share my screen. Dr. Aditya, can you please give me a,
Yeah, I've given you access.
Okay. Fine. So let me just make it slideshow. Is screen visible, Doctor? Hello?
Yeah, you can go on, please.
Okay, fine. See, before we write any kind of a protocol, it is very important for all of us to know about the general ethical issues. I think this is the aspect which every researcher should know. So I would like to start my presentation with the general ethical issues which you as a researcher has to take care of it. Friends, like this is, today I may, the sound little, the technical, you might have not heard such kind of a terminology, but trust me, these all are, as per the rules and regulations. Sometime to bring our product to the market, and with the excitement of, our product performance, we are in hurry how to bring this product for the larger use. But when you bring that product for the larger use, there are a lot of ethical aspects involved in it. So for that, you have to undergo certain clinical studies. And for when you are doing that clinical studies, the ethical aspects are very important. Now, what are the ethical aspects? I will explain like each one of this. Benefit risk assessment. Whenever you plan any kind of a research, whenever you design any product, every product or every plan, you should think about whether this product and whether this research plan is beneficial to the community or there is a risk. So risk will be there, benefits also will be there. At the end, benefit should be more than the risk. And that is what the benefit risk assessment says. So you as a researcher has to do this first. Then when it goes to the next level for the ethics committee clearance, they will also verify benefit risk assessment. When this will be submitted to the higher authority, the regulatory, the Indian regulatory, Drug Controller General of India, because most of the device related research, technology related research falls under the DCGI. So they will also do the benefit risk assessment. At the end, benefits should be higher than the risk. Now you will have a question, how to assess this? Do we have any equation or the tools to assess the benefit risk assessment? Answer is no. There are no tools available based on the collective efforts. As you as a researcher, you have all the data related to the study which you have performed. You have results about it. Maybe you have a predicate device result about it. You have the other literature available. Based on that, you can say your product is giving a more benefit than the risk. Similarly, the ethics committee can also assess. So that is the first ethical aspects which we all have to take care. Second ethical aspect is a respect of the person. That is an informed consent process. Whenever you do any kind of a study, whether it is a retrospective study or less risk related study or data collection studies, but you have to execute the informed consent process. Now, there is an option that informed consent waiver. I will explain in my subsequent slide that consent waiver is also there, but that also again has to be decided by the ethics committee, not by the researchers. So informed consent process, for that you should have a informed consent document. An informed consent document should be a document which is written in the non-technical language, the language which can be understood by the by the participants. In that way, you have to write the comprehensive document, and that is called the informed consent document. And after that, you have to execute that informed consent process, where you as a researcher will explain this process to the participant, and then participant should voluntarily accept it. And then you provide one document, one copy of the document, fully executed copy to them. That is called the informed consent process. So this is also a very important step and ethical aspect. Third important is the privacy and confidentiality. So friends, privacy and confidentiality, you all know that nowadays we all are very sensitive about the data and the demographic data, the data, whenever it goes to the next party, we ask so many questions. Now here, the participants are coming to you, they are participating in your study, and then that participations, you will get all their informations, and that information, there should be an agreement, confidentiality agreement to be signed. And you as a researcher, you as an ethics committee member, they have to ensure that the research related data, participants related data is kept confidential. And hence you must be knowing that the participants will identified with the subject number. They will never identified with their name in the research. So that is the reason behind that. Distributive justice, very important ethical aspects. Justice, it says that whenever you take the participant in the study, that participants to be selected based on the certain eligibility criteria. Now, eligibility criteria is what? So you must have heard the terminology called inclusion exclusion criteria. So the inclusion criteria, which all the patients are eligible and can be enrolled in the study. So there they might have written, let's say all adult subjects or participants are allowed. Now here, if there is from the researcher, if you start like segregating, okay, all adults are there, but I will not take the female participants in the study. I will not take the illiterate participants in the study. And there the violation of the justice principles. So we need to follow, first of all, our plan, our protocol should be clearly written with the inclusion exclusion criteria. And then we have to abide with the inclusion exclusion criteria. Patient participant should be selected based on that only. Payment for participation. Now the questions is, first of all, is payment to be given to the participants? So friends, it depends on what kind of research you are doing. But what generally understood that there are different kind of payments. I would like to give a certain examples to you. One payment, which is called as a financial compensation. Now, when this is applicable, the financial compensation is applicable when the participants face any injury, study related, research related injury during the phase of the study. And at that time, that financial compensation is applicable. Now the question is, who will decide that financial compensation? So as per the current regulation, that authorities with the Drug Controller General of India to take a call on financial compensation, but when? Only if it is a research related injury. The second kind of a payment is payment where the participants are getting enrolled in your study and they are sparing their either a time, they are dedicating their time for the research, for your study, for getting participation in the study. They are healthy volunteers, and but they are coming and participating in your study. Their time, their efforts. Sometimes they give that blood sample. If the research is according to that, they give the blood sample. And for this participation is also needs to be compensated. There is no specific amount which is mentioned, or there is no formula for that. Financial compensation, we have a well-defined formula, but for such kind of expenses and the remuneration, there is no formula, but it can be based on the experience. It can be, the put on paper that this can be paid. And that is just not like influencing their participation, but just to compensate whatever the time and efforts which they have put for your participation, for your study participation. And third kind of compensation and the payment method is a reimbursement. Now this reimbursement is mainly applicable is when they are a patient is getting some kind of a treatment through your research, through your study, and for that they are coming and participating in the study. At that time, if they are getting a treatment, there is no compensation, there is no payment for that. But since they are participating in your research, and for that they, let's say, the one location to other location, from their home to the research location, if they travel, So considering some approx amount to be given for their participation, and that is called the reimbursement against their travel and other expenses. So this is the payment of participation. Compensation for research related harm, already we discussed. Conflict of interest. Now, what is a conflict of interest? The simple say is, when the primary objective is compromised with the secondary objective, then there is a conflict of interest prevails. So let's say the primary objective is, when you do the study, your primary objective is as per the according to the study to achieve the outcome events or the end points, and secondary objective is your safety. Always safety will be there. When these objectives are compromised with some other interest may be the commercial, financial, position related, any other interest, then the conflict of interest prevailed. So how to avoid that conflict of interest? So conflict of interest to be avoided, first we need to see that is there any conflict of interest. Now there are certain examples I will tell you, when you go for your research, you take it forward your research to the, let's say, the ethics committee, because every research should go to the ethics committee for approval. You have submitted your proposal to the ethics committee and you are an investigator, but the panel, the judging panel, in that one of your guide is also a quorum member. The decision maker is there, one of your guide. There is a conflict of interest. So such kind of, the interest to be assessed. And in that particular case, that the concerned person has to voluntarily withdraw from that meeting, especially for when your research is discussed, and then conflict of interest to be documented. Selection of vulnerable and special group as research participants. So when there is a study, if the participants are not involved, fine. But when there is a participants are involved, what kind of participants are involved? Is the minor, that kids below 18 are involved in the research? That is a special case. Is there any specific population is tested with under your research? The Alzheimer's related, or maybe the geriatric population, dementia related, any specific condition, HIV related. You have to see that. Pregnant ladies, what kind of a research and what kind of, your objective of research is. And in that, if the vulnerable population is involved, at that time, you as a researcher have to take care, you have to take this special precaution. What is a special precaution? Special precaution to ensure the rights of that participants, safety of the participants, confidentiality of the participants, well-being of the participants. And these are the special precautions you have to take, and ensure that your protocol and plan should be designed in such a way that considering the sample size and the population, those who are going to take part in the study. And last but not least, ethical aspect is a post-research access and benefit sharing. So what will be your plan once the research is conducted and once the research is marketed? What will be your plan? How that, it will be access to the people, community? That plan should be written. So these are the ethical aspects which you have to take care while writing the proposals, while writing your plans, protocols. All these points should be carefully addressed in your research proposal. Now you will have a question that this is very maybe the comprehensive one, descriptive. My research is very easy and low risk category. Maybe if you can go as per the medical device rule or some the other new drug clinical trial regulations. If you find this is a very risky, less risky, but still all these ethical aspects has to be taken care and has to be described in your proposal. So next is when we talk about the ethical aspects, then the next question comes. Let me understand as a researcher that what all the rules and regulations are applicable and available in the country. Friends, when we are a budding researcher or the just, getting entered with our new products and your new innovations, there is a possibility your focus is your product, your focus is your innovation. And at that time, we missed that to know or about the rules and regulations which is already there in the country for the research. So these are the 4 important documents which I have listed here, which everyone should be trained. Irrespective of what kind of research you are doing, whether you are doing an academic study, whether you are doing the study for the commercialization, whether you are doing a medical device study for the marketing of the device, manufacturing of the device, but these are the 4 documents you should be trained on it. ICH GCP E6 R2, Good Clinical Practices Guideline. The current version, the latest version is E6 R2. Medical Device Rule 2017. This was the comprehensive rule document is available, and there are some of the amendments, but the primary document is this, and there are some other amendments are there, can be read in line with this particular document. New Drug Clinical Trial Regulation 2019. When the 2019, previously we had a drug and cosmetic rules in that Schedule Y, which was talking about the clinical research, but now that document has been obsolete, and they have come up with the new drug clinical trial regulation. So all kind of a guidance is there, how to do the clinical study. And National Ethical Guideline for Biomedical Research. This is also very important document for all of you, because the nature of the research which you are doing is more about a biomedical research. Now, what is biomedical research? I will certainly tell you. Okay. So it is important to know that what is biomedical research, because your most of the research falls under this category. So the research including studies on basic, applied and operational research or clinical research designed primarily to increase scientific knowledge about that particular disease and the conditions. Please, I know very carefully, you read this document, because it gives, there are 2-3 components are included in this. One is to get a increase or to get more scientific knowledge about that particular disease. Let's say take example diabetes. There are certain systems and the treatments and everything is available. Technology is available. But once you come up with the new technology which gives more knowledge or more information about the diabetes, there are many startups with whom we are associated. And let's say the one panel is giving a 5 parameters result. The other new startup will come and say, with the same blood sample, 1 prick of the blood sample, they will give the 10 parameters result. Okay, so what is that? That is a enhancement of the the innovations and the treatments. It is ease, creating a ease for the end user. One of the startup was there, and now say the currently HBGM, home blood glucose monitoring, is there for the diabetes, where you have to take a blood prick of the blood and then the result will come. Now they have come up with the new device, the sensor device, with the help of our AI technology. Just by wearing the device, it will give the HbA1c result. So this is what this is giving more scientific knowledge as well as improving. See, the next point is that their detection and cause. So it is improving their detection and cause and evolving strategy for the health promotion, prevention and improvement of the disease. So this all technology which improves the patient condition, giving more knowledge about the treatment and the disease, all falls under the biomedical research. So that is why it is very essential to know that where our research falls under. And when it is a biomedical research, it is very important for all of you to know national ethical guideline for biomedical research. So I'm just trying to, the link, how it is helpful. Same time, to know more about your study, let's say it doesn't fall under the biomedical research, then what is the next option? So you have an academic study. Many are doing that study with just for the academic purpose. You don't want to take it forward to the next level, not for the any kind of a commercial approval, not for the marketing approval, not getting a license from the Drug Controller General of India. It is purely for the academic perspective. If that objective is very clear, then that research falls under the academic research. And academic research also runs according to the National Ethical Guideline for Biomedical Research. And third segment, also it is important for all of you to know whether my study, my research called as a clinical trial or not. So when it will be called as a clinical trial, when the primary objective of your research is safety, efficacy, and the tolerance, then your research falls under the clinical trial segment. Very important, safety. Second is efficacy. When you are comparing your device with other device and trying to prove that efficacy. And third is a tolerance. Generally, the tolerance comes in the dose. When there is a strength, when there is a molecules or drug molecules are involved, maybe the one level of dose, and you are developing the second level of the dose, and you are checking whether it is tolerated by that participants or not. And this kind of research falls under the clinical trial. So you as a researcher, while designing your plan, while designing your protocol, you should be well aware of that what kind of research you are designing. Coming to the next and important plan, that when you write the protocol, how it should be. What are the points to be included while writing the protocol? So friends, what happened, because we are closely working with the ethics committee. In fact, we are providing the support of the ethics committee to the startups and the all kind of researchers. The basic challenge is when we accept the proposal from the academia's researchers, startups, their protocol is a PowerPoint presentation. And you will find all the information, only information about the product related. But it will not be written as a scientifically sound document. And in the format which I am, the explaining in front of you, there will not be a written in this pattern where the background, why you are doing research, objective of your study, the design, the study design, what will be the methodology of your research, eligibility criteria. When you write the eligibility criteria, same time you need to write that exclusion criteria also. Identifier of the document. Sometimes we feel this is a very simple thing, but it is very essential. And we found most of the time this identifier is missing. And what is that identifier? When you submit one document to any authority for the approval, whether it is an ethics committee or whether it is a regulatory, you need to have a certain identifier of your document. Identifier means the version of the document, date of the document, date of finalization of that particular document. Why it is essential? Because today you have written let's say you have finalized the protocol V1 version 1 dated 23rd August 2023. Tomorrow, if there is a revision, then you will have a linking with that previous one was V1, now it is V2. And easily you can write the revision of history that what is the difference between V1 and V2. So it is a very easy for you as a researcher. It is very easy for the next, the reviewer to correlate what all the changes were there. Duration of the study. How long this study will conduct, what is the duration that the data collection will happen, what is the duration where the follow-up will happen, the execution duration to be met. It is very essential because if anyone gets participated, should know that how long this will continue. Benefit risk assessment. Am I audible? Can anyone confirm, please?
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, because it shows that internet connect.
Yeah, it's little,
So that's why
it's little down, but see, please go on.
Okay. Consent procedures discussed. Statistical plan. I think here also sometimes the proposal comes to us and say, I want to do the study on 10 patients or 10 participants. I want to test the 50 participants. What is the rationale behind that 10, 50? It should not come like from your decision, okay, I want this number. Whatever the number and sample size which we decide in the research has to be statistically validated. In fact, the statistical only can decide that what could be the sample size for the research. Study monitoring plan, how you will conduct and how you will monitor the data, what will be the monitoring plan, it should be written in the protocol. Protocol signature page. When you as a researcher write that protocol, then you have to sign that protocol and declare that the protocol is authored by you and you are taking a responsibility that the protocol document is written, plan is written according to the applicable rules and regulations. So that is what the signature page is nothing but the acceptance of what you have written, undertaking by the investigator. Now, when you are writing and when you are doing the research, you will become an investigator. Other term is a researcher. And you have to provide the undertaking stating that my research will be conducted according to the protocol which is finalized. My research will be conducted according to the rules and regulation. I do not have any, the kind of a conflict, financial conflict, that all this declaration, there is a standard template available, has to be signed and submitted to the authority for when you are submitting all the documents to them. Privacy and confidentiality be discussed as a part of the ethical aspects. Proposed compensation also be discussed as a part of the ethical aspects. Plan for publication, because most of the such kind of research is there for the publication. So you have to upfront mention in your research proposal that what is your end outcome or end results post the research is completed. Then what will be your plan? Are you going to publish? And if you are publishing that, what will be the procedures you have to mention in the research proposal? Ethical consideration already we discussed, and that is why I have given a brief understanding about the all ethical aspects, because when you write that proposal, that all ethical aspects has to be taken care. And last but not least, the data technology driven, the application, ECRF, anything, that method has to be defined here in your protocol. So this is how the protocol has to be written, plan has to be written. Now, we discussed about the protocols. Now let's talk about the informed consent document, because informed consent document is also an important document, and which you all have to, the design and implement in your study. So what is an informed consent document, how it should be? So in that particular document, statement mentioning that it is a research. Friends, informed protocol is for the everyone, especially for the technical team, not for the participants. But the informed consent is for the participants. So this document needs to be designed considering that participants. So first statement, like this is a research, this is a clinical evaluation, clinical investigation. So you have to start according to that. Purpose and method of the research. So why we are doing this research? What is the purpose of this doing research? What are the methods to be used in the research? Expected duration of the participation, because they should know that, how many times I have to come here, how many times the blood samples will be collected, how many times do I have to stay here. So all this thing, they should know that how long this will run. So expected duration of the participation and the frequency of contact. Type of data collection method. Already we discussed that how the data collection should happen. So there is a patient questionnaire. So for that, the participant has to come for completing that patient questionnaire, or maybe is there any applications to be downloaded and the data will be completed? Is there or there will be an online interview? We are receiving varieties of the research. Many startups and like many are doing like the research on, like, let's say on spiritual things. And that research also comes to the ethics committee for approval, and there they do the interview of the participants. Types of the benefits to the participant community or others. Any foreseeable risk has to be mentioned. All kind of like you said, like my device is a sensor. It doesn't have any risk, no problem or no adverse events will happen. But who knows that there is that product, the material, the material which is used in that particular device may have some sensitivity related reactions on the body. There is a possibility. There are a lot of artificial hands related proposals which we have come across. So there the complete data, that how that material, how that product has been, the manufactured, which all the elements are used in that, everything has to be, the clearly documented. So any kind of a foreseeable risk we have to mention. In case of individual who is not capable of giving a voluntary consent, see friends, consent is a voluntary consent. Now your question, when the minor is included in the study, then what? Then how you will take the consent? So for that, there is a concept of legally acceptable representative. Now there is a two kind of a concept. One is a LAR, who can give consent on behalf of the participants. And when such situation comes, when the participants are minor, when participants are in ICU, or maybe the unconscious situation, or maybe participants are, with the disease where they are not able to understand, in that situation, you need to go for the legally acceptable representative. Now, who can be a legally acceptable representative? All your, especially the blood relatives, they can consider as a legally acceptable representative, and they give the consent on behalf of the participants. The other scenario is impartial witness. The witness, And the witness is just a witnessing that particular process. When the ICF is getting conducted, at that time they will be available just to know that researcher is explaining the process to participants appropriately or not. That is just a consent will be given by the participant, but they are assuring that the appropriate information has been given to them. That is called impartial witness. So these are the all parameters has to be taken care when there is a informed consent document preparation. Now, coming to little bit more specific to your the design of the protocol. The more specific is clinical investigation plan. So clinical investigation plan is for when there is a medical device involved. And mostly, I'm sure, like your work is related to the device. And there I want to tell you, friend, there are two kind of a regulatory requirement. One is a clinical investigation and other is a clinical performance evaluation. Clinical investigation evaluation is mainly for the invasive type of product. And clinical performance evaluation for in vitro diagnostics. So where simple, when something is touching to your body part, to either to the intact body surface or the wounded body surface, it goes for the clinical investigation. If something is away from your body, where the blood sample is connected and the tested at retrospectively some other place, goes for the performance evaluation. So there, how your protocol and plan should be look alike. So where identifier already we discussed, sponsor related detail. Now, who will be the sponsor? Sometime if your research is sponsored by external party, yes. But if no one is sponsored and you are only doing, you are a researcher and you are only completely taking care of, then you become a sponsor also. Your detail only has to be mentioned in the plan. Principal investigator, again, if you are a researcher, your detail has to come. Now, the one more aspects I would like to tell here, co-investigator. Your study, you can, let's say you are an engineer or maybe the other, not a medical doctor or not a medical investigator, but your study has a part where the medical decisions are involved. There is a possibility of safety related decision, medical care related decision. There, please remember, you need to keep one of the doctor, medically qualified doctor as a part of your team, as a co-investigator. Justification of the design, risk and benefits, design of the clinical investigations, which all the device, which is the investigational device and which is the device is a comparator. So that has to be there. Procedures, subjects related procedures, monitoring plan already we discussed, statistical considerations we discussed, data management. Data management, after collection of the data analytics will happen. Data will be analyzed and that is the data management. So there are a lot of data management related procedures. So that also you have to consider the data management related section as well. Adverse events and the serious adverse events related information. So here, first, before to move on the other, I want to tell you that adverse events and the serious adverse events. So friends, serious adverse events, there is a defined criteria. There are 6 criteria which falls under the serious adverse event. Maybe in the type of research which you are involved, it is not more relevance, but it is important to know. Because if any of the criteria, let's say the one criteria is a death, fine. That is a by default serious adverse event. The other criteria is the participant was healthy, OPD based, but that got hospitalized. because of something went wrong, because of your research, because of your study, then there is a serious adverse event. Hospitalization was anticipated for 2 days, but prolonged that hospitalization, serious adverse event, medical significant event, birth-related defect. All these events falls under the criteria of the serious adverse event. So this we have to know that, okay, if any of the criteria meets one of the event, then it goes for the serious adverse event. And when there is a serious adverse event, then there is a certain process to be followed. That we will discuss whenever we get a time and whenever we meet again in a detail. Adverse event, not necessary that related or not related to your research, but any untoward occurrence happens during that particular research, that will be considered as an adverse event. Apart from that, this document, protocol related document you have prepared, the consent related documents you have prepared, other expected documents. So the other expected documents are that case report form, patient case questionnaire, or maybe the data collection document, where to document the data. That also document you have to prepare. Whatever the parameters which you have to record, but you need to define that how it will be recorded. Patient accrual methods, how you are going to bring the participants, whether it is from the community while doing the camp, or maybe by selecting some special therapeutic area related participants, that you need to, how you will get it, how you will bring it, you need to mention here. Then the GCP training certificate, you all are investigators. And please remember that whenever you do the research, you all should have the GCP certificate, good clinical practices certificate, training certificate. And not only that, but when you do the medical device related research, you should be trained on the medical device rule. When you are doing that any kind of a research or drug regulation which falls under the Drug Controller General of India, you have to get the NOC from there. You have to be trained on the NDCTR, New Drug Clinical Trial Regulation. And when you are doing a biomedical research, you should be trained on the National Ethical Guideline of Biomedical Research. In short, you need to be trained on all these 4 documents before you start doing the research. And you should have a certificate of that. Undertaking, we discuss regulatory permissions. Regulatory permissions depends on the class, depend on the class where your device falls. Class A, B, C. If it is class A, may not require that clinical testing. If it is B and C, that clinical testing is mandatory. Even though class A, people are doing the clinical testing just to add the value or for the more authenticity to the product which have been developed while marketing. So this is depends. So these are depends on the, the what, then accordingly you need to go for the regulatory permissions. Agreements and MOUs, all these documents should be there when you are doing, let's say you are doing a trial at the some of the industry institute, then there should be an agreement between two. If you are taking a support of the ethics committee, which is not from that institute, from the external ethics committee, there should be a MOU between your research and the ethics committee. So these are the MOU, which are the very essential document. Coming to the consent waiver, I think that which I was talking about the consent procedure, but there is a possibility when you do not disclose any kind of a data to the, the larger community, and the data is research data will be mostly anonymized, and you are not going to disclose the identity of the participants, then there is a possibility you may not require any kind of a consent. But in that case, when you submit the proposal to the ethics committee for the clearance, you need to prepare the consent waiver document. In consent waiver document, you need to justify that why consent is not required. And these are the 1 or 2 examples given here. Whether your research is a retrospective studies or research, yes or no. Means in that the participants' details are de-identified. The second is research on data available in public. If the data is already available in public domain, no need to take the informed consent. Research conducted during the emergencies, disasters may not require the informed consent. So these are the scenarios where the research is not required. I mean, the informed consent is not required, but you need to get a informed consent waiver for the same. Vulnerable populations already we discussed while discussing the ethical aspects, and this slide is also more or less talking about the same, that whenever any vulnerable populations get involved in the research, you need to be extra cautious while designing your research, while putting the safety steps in your research, in methodology of your research. Coming to the insurance part, I think this document is also, and this understanding also will help you, because you are a researcher and this insurance was not so discussed initially in the years when before this, I can say the before new drug regulation has come. But after that, the insurance has become a more important document, because whenever you do a research, either you do the research under the institute, either you research in the individual capacity, or you are bringing a sponsor for your research. In all the cases, it is recommended to have the valid insurance document for your research. So take example, if you are doing the research in the institute, that institute will become a sponsor, and directly that it is a responsibility of the sponsors to protect the research by insurance, with insurance. When you do individual capacity, then you become a sponsor and it is your responsibility. And if there is a sponsored trial or sponsored research, then again, it will be a responsibility of them. So having insurance is not like just a certificate, but the valid insurance policy, which will have, these are the certain, the information, the conditions of coverage, date of commencement, the expiry date, and all these things, which is applicable. You should have in the part of the insurance certificate. So insurance is recommended, maybe not mandatory. It depends on the type of the research. But nowadays, ethics committee has started asking why there is no insurance. So that you have to, if you are able to justify, then fine. Otherwise, in most of the cases, it is recommended that the insurance should be there. And last but not least, that this CTRI, clinical trial registry. So friends, I am sure you must be aware of this, or if not, please note that for any kind of a research which happens in the country, it has to be registered on the Clinical Trial Registry of India, and it is a free repository of all kind of research. Initial years, it was believed that this is mainly for the clinical trials, but now they have made it mandatory for all kind of research, whether you do an observational study, whether you do retrospective study, medical device study, just a data collection study. Every study has to be registered here before you start of the study. When you register, you have to register with the ethics committee clearance also. You can open your account, you can start editing the information, but you will get the registration number, valid registration number, post submission of the ethics committee clearance only. So CTRI, it is available on this particular website, ctri.go.in. And there you will find it that where you can open your first time account. And then whenever you do the research, there will be options to register your study. In fact, that study can be edited at any point of time. So you can keep continue editing based on your status of the study. So this is a CTRI for your information. So friends, with this, I conclude my first session, and where I discussed about, like, the how the protocol should be, how that informed consent document should be, what are the other associated documents which is required. We talk about some of the part of the regulations and regulations requirement. Also, we discussed about the biomedical research and certain important information about the research. So with this, I conclude, and we have some time. Maybe we are at 15:57. I think let's open for the questions. If you have any specific questions where I can help you out, Dr. Aditya.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Sudhir, for such a wonderful session. We do have questions. In fact, a few of the questions were very focused on what exactly were the probably what you had already covered, like what exactly are the proposals and all. So I was looking at it, but there are specific questions in the chat box, like Arshad has from Coaxin Technology has asked, during publication, it makes much time for Scopes Index Journal. Can we have any solution for this? Or are there any platforms that aids in quick publication as startups researchers for professional acceptance? So he's focused more on what exactly are the publication methods, because yes, probably once you do a clinical research, publication takes time. So he's more asking on the purview of how exactly we can do to save time in publications. Yes.
Okay, so here, Dr. Aditya, like I have some limitation to answer this question, because we mainly focus on the research part, but I can, this certainly revert back,
Yeah.
with these questions in the detail, because we do work with them, we do deal with them, but not directly. So this question is definitely, very useful. But one point I want to tell at this stage, the friends, what we have seen many of the research and the researchers, they are coming back to the coming back to us. This is my experience I am sharing. I mean, like, what happened, the researcher completes their research, and then they might have not obtained the ethics committee clearance, considering that the my research does not require ethics committee, and they approach the publication house, and there they are stuck, because publication house demands that where is that ethics committee approval. And then again they comes back to us and they ask, can you provide the approval ethics committee clearance in the retrospective and the the date which is the back date, or my research is completed now, can you provide the ethics committee approval? So friends, I want to tell you that ethics committee will not, first of all, they will never give the backdated approval, and that is not the ideal good documentation practice also. Second thing is, once the research is conducted, there is no meaning to come back, comes to the ethics committee for asking the approval, because ethics committee approval, as per the regulation, it is required before you start of the study. So this is
I think this
one.
also as the next question, because there is a question from Rupa who has asked like, how to get an ethical or ethic approval or ethical committee approval for a startup company. So you cannot get a company ethical company, probably the product. So that's what she's mentioning.
How to get the ethics committee approval for a startup company? See, there is nothing like, the startup company, and basically the ethics committee clearance is to the research.
Yeah, exactly.
And the research can be submitted by either a startup company or the individual researcher. Anyone can submit. Only thing I have already explained, like some of the part, first of all, you need to submit that the respective documents, the related documents, and submit to the ethics committee. I think whenever we'll get an opportunity, we will discuss more in detail about, the how you can submit to the ethics committee and how they can review and provide the approval. But yes, there is no specific approval for the startup of company. You can, as an individual researcher, as per the ethics committee procedures, you have to submit the proposal to them. They will review and give their clearance to them.
Thank you all. I think that was the questions. You can't see much of a questions. Yeah. So yeah, as we draw curtains on this fantastic first part of the Health Hub workshop with Mr. Sudhir, keep an eye on the space as we intend to conduct few more follow-up sessions to this session or the topics of your choice, such as ethical committee clearance, as we just noted, and other requirements from your perspective to sail through the regulatory pathway in much easier way. And we announce the date shortly, coming back on what are the thoughts and processes which we will be looking forward and how exactly we can make sure all the ideas can be grasped in one such of a topics. So this will basically to aimed at understanding how exactly things works within the ecosystem and how exactly you can take advantage of these things. So we announce the day shortly. So keep an eye on our social media pages, LinkedIn pages, and share this among your friends, because that is also very important, because the ecosystem grows when you share with among your friends. For this intriguing workshop, I actually thank Mr. Sudhir for spending some time with us and trying to explain the nitty-gritties of this pathway, this clinical research pathway. So if you have any specific relations questions which you would like to ask or which you would like to see from a perspective of a startup, then please do definitely write to out at clinical@derbyfoundation.com. We will compile all those questions and probably have a session with Mr. Sudhir, and I'll try to understand your questions in much depth. So from the Derby family, I extend my deepest and greatest congratulations or appreciations and gratitudes to him for sharing his ideas and thoughts on how to crack an effective way to write a proposal. Thank you all for joining us today. And until we meet again next time, let us remind and dedicated to our collective pursuit of a healthier and brighter future through our products, through our channels, and through this entire session. Thank you all for joining. See you soon. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Aditya.
Thank you. Thank you.